Chosen ones, this message has reached you exactly when you needed it most. There are no accidents in the divine order of your life. You've walked through seasons of solitude and confusion, sensing a fire within that the world couldn't understand. Every door that slammed in your face, every whispered doubt, every longing in your spirit, they were not mistakes, but signposts on the path to your awakening. Now hidden truths are surfacing, revealing the ancient blueprint encoded in your very blood. In this video, you'll discover how your heritage, as the final spark of the 144,000, prepares you to shatter every chain and reclaim your destiny. If this message already speaks to your soul, subscribe, like this video, and comment 77 below. Remember, the last shall be first, and your moment of manifesting divine fire is now. Stay with me until the end to claim your mantle, divine DNA, and the legacy of the 144,000. They carry a lineage that reaches back beyond recorded history, an unbroken thread of divine purpose woven by prophets, sealed in mysterious scrolls, and preserved through generations. Who they are cannot be defined by ordinary ancestry or earthly bloodlines. Their true heritage is written in the heavens. In Revelation 7 verse 4, a hidden scroll reveals that 144,000 were marked on their foreheads, a remnant chosen to bear the message of restoration. Each time they felt out of place or misunderstood, it was a reminder that they were set apart for this sacred assignment. Every rejection, every moment of inner turmoil, served to purify their spirits, refining the spiritual DNA encoded within them. Though they have walked through fires of doubt and valleys of shadows, those trials were never arbitrary. They were the forge in which the metal of the 144,000 lineage was tested and proven. Comment legacy if you feel the echo of ancient prophets stirring in your soul. But this truth is only the beginning. Soon they will recognize the signs that confirm their awakening. They have felt it in restless dreams that echo with images they cannot fully recall, yet sense carry weighty significance. They've experienced sudden pressures in their chest, as though the heartbeat of an ancestor surged through their veins. They've encountered moments of uncanny clarity, an intuitive knowing that certain words spoken in the past would come to pass, long before circumstances revealed their meaning. Yet despite these profound stirrings, they have often wondered if they were merely chasing illusions, grasping at straws in a world that prefers comfort over conviction. The emotional toll of living between two realms, one earthly and limited, the other boundless and divine, has left them both exhilarated and exhausted. They've questioned whether their sensitivity to unseen forces was a gift or a curse, and wrestled with loneliness when no one understood the depth of their inner life. Every time they looked for confirmation from the world and found none, they faced the painful choice to trust the whisper of their spirit over the clamor of skeptical voices. It is within this crucible of longing and uncertainty that the weight of their inheritance becomes most palpable, beckoning them to step fully into the legacy they carry. Yet this struggle was never a detour. It was the very path of your preparation. From the moment of your conception, the divine architect had this blueprint in mind, a plan that required seasons of hidden training and solitary growth. In the lesser-known prophecy of Zephaniah, a voice cries out, "Seek the Lord, all you humble of the land, seek righteousness, seek humility." Zephaniah 2 verse 3. Humility and hiddenness were not mere virtues, but mechanisms of spiritual formation. When you endured seasons of isolation, it was not abandonment, but a sacred apprenticeship in divine dependency. The walls you encountered around you were designed to keep the noise out, so you could learn to hear the still, small voice of guidance within. And every time you felt inadequate or ill-equipped, it was so that you would discover your sufficiency in the power of this legacy rather than the approval of a fleeting world. This period of hiddenness was intentional. a recalibration that aligned your inner compass with the greater mission of the 144,000. Now, the first signs of transformation begin to break through the surface of your life. As unmistakable as dawn after a long night, you notice doors opening in unexpected places, relationships shifting into alignment, and synchronicities that defy chance. An idea born in a moment of solitude blossoms into an opportunity that changes the course of your path. A conversation that once felt mundane carries a word of insight that resonates deep within, confirming a long-buried truth. The very atmosphere around you seems charged, as though the universe itself is bending to accommodate the wave of restored balance you usher in. These signs are not to be dismissed as coincidence. They are markers placed along your journey, guiding you forward. Proof that the hidden scroll of your destiny is unrolling in real time. The more you pay attention, the more the tapestry of your lineage reveals its pattern, each thread weaving you closer to the fullness of your calling. Behind these visible shifts, unseen forces are orchestrating the next act of your elevation. Angels and spiritual allies move in the background, clearing obstacles before you even perceive them. In the obscure verses of 2 Kings 6 verse 17, Elisha's servant is granted eyes to see horses and chariots of fire surrounding them, an illustration of the protection and power arrayed on behalf of the faithful. Similarly, you find allies in the spirit realm who have watched over your every step, ensuring that your path remains viable for the mission ahead. Moments that once seemed like random acts of kindness, a stranger's encouragement, an unexpected provision, a timely message, are in fact strategic interventions to validate your faith and bolster your resolve. Recognize that these divine alignments require your cooperation. When you speak words of faith, when you step forward despite fear, you synchronize with the rhythm of these higher forces, propelling your legacy forward into manifestation. At this juncture, everything you have endured converges into a moment of self-realization. The pieces of your story fall into place, and you see the pattern that has guided you from your earliest days. But this understanding alone is not enough. You must fully accept and embody this inherited power. So many resist this call, because stepping into your legacy means relinquishing old identities and comfortable limitations. Yet true alignment demands that you embrace what you were built for, even if it means stepping into the unknown. Feel the tremor of excitement mingled with trepidation as you stand on the edge of your promised inheritance. This is a sacred crossroads where hesitation yields lost opportunity and faith unlocks the door to destiny. Decide now to walk through that door, to claim not only the name of descendant, but the mantle of flame keeper. Armed with this clarity, you are ready to step into the reality you were always meant to inhabit. Release the fear that has whispered doubts in your ear and cast aside the doubt that has chained your heart. Affirm the truth that your legacy is real and your mission is valid. Begin to speak declarative words over your life, words that shape circumstances and rally spiritual allies. Establish new practices that sustain your inner fire, moments of solitude for communion, routines that honor your evolving gifts, and connections with others who share this sacred lineage. Trust that every small act in faith reverberates with cosmic significance. As you cultivate these rhythms, you'll notice the landscape around you responding. Opportunities coalesce, relationships deepen, and your influence expands. This is the work of a true descendant rising to fulfill an ancient calling. You stand now at the forefront of a great wave, carrying the flame of the 144,000 into a world desperate for renewal. Your presence alone ignites hope in weary hearts and shatters the chains that bound them to old narratives. Remember that this legacy is not a burden but a gift, a living testament to God's enduring love and unwavering promise. Comment heritage if you embrace the power of your lineage. Let this truth anchor you as you enact the restoration you were born to deliver. And a special thanks to all our current members walking this path. And if you feel called to go even deeper, there's a sacred space reserved for our community, a private room where you receive full prophetic messages daily. Join our private membership through the link in the description and walk this path with us. Signs and confirmations of the blueprint. They have wrestled with nights that stretch into dawn, their minds alight with images and messages that make no sense to those around them. Maybe they've seen a number sequence repeated everywhere they look, as if a cosmic clock is clicking in their favor. Perhaps they've received a sudden flash of insight in the middle of a mundane task, an idea so potent that it feels lifted from another realm. These experiences left them doubting their own sanity, wondering if fatigue or imagination played tricks on them. But these stirrings are not random. They are the first tremors of a seismic shift within their spirit. In Acts 2 verse 17, the prophecy speaks of, "Your old men shall dream dreams, your young men shall see visions," a lesser-known passage that assures them these encounters are signs of something real and ancient stirring to life. When they feel their chest tighten in excitement or their mind awaken with purpose, it is the echo of the 144,000 blueprint resonating in their very cells. Come and awaken if you felt this undeniable stirring in your soul. Yet before they step fully into these confirmations, they must confront the weight of what they are being called to and the price that truth demands. They know the ache of longing that no achievement or relationship can fill, the emptiness when applause fades and the applause never came. They've carried a secret burden that whispers there is more to life than what the world offers. Yet they couldn't articulate what that more was supposed to look like. At times, they've watched friends pursue success, love, or comfort, only to feel that none of these things would satisfy their spirit. A sense of misplacement settled in their bones, as though they were actors in someone else's story. This dissonance between outer reality and inner calling became a source of deep frustration. Why did the world seem content with shadows when they hungered for light? Every missed opportunity felt like a test, every closed door a challenge to trust that an unseen plan was unfolding. In those moments, they questioned whether their quest for meaning was a self-imposed burden or a divine compass guiding them home. Then came that turning point when the whispers of doubt turned into a clarion call of clarity. Perhaps it arrived as a sudden alignment of several signs: an old friend reappearing with a word of encouragement, a book falling open to a page that spelled out their next step, or a dream that replayed an encounter in perfect detail. In the lesser-known verses of Haggai 2 verse 9, it was said, "The latter glory of this house shall be greater than the former," indicating that what lies ahead will eclipse what came before. They recognized then that their trials had not been detours, but the preparatory ground for this very season. The old narrative of limitation shattered as they glimpsed the contours of their true story. That moment of resonance between spiritual stirring and practical confirmation became the pivot, the axis on which their new reality would turn. They saw that every restless night, every prophetic dream, and every urge of inspiration were threads in a tapestry being woven by unseen hands. As their awareness deepens, the signs of breakthrough multiply, both visible and invisible. On the mundane plane, conversations shift in tone. Long-standing misunderstandings dissolve as if under an invisible bomb, and new alliances form with people who intuitively understand their mission. Opportunities slip into their lap without struggle. A position opens, an introduction occurs, a door swings wide with ease. At the same time, in the unseen realm, they feel an upsurge of spiritual energy, like a current of wind beneath their wings. Meditation or prayer sessions suddenly extend in length as time seems to stretch around them. and moments of silence ring with the sound of untold promises. They catch glimpses of ethereal shapes or hear distant echoes of angelic song in quiet hours. These experiences are more than emotional highs or coincidences. They are the unmistakable markers of divine timing, aligning their purpose with heaven's agenda. The world bends to reflect their inner transformation, as though the cosmos itself rearranges to honor the activation of their blueprint. Behind these outward shifts, divine intervention is the architect orchestrating every detail. They may not see the full design, but they sense the gentle guidance of forces that know their name and their destiny. Synchronicities, once fleeting and random, now carry weight. The same message appears in a social feed, on the street mural, and in the lyrics of a song. They receive encouragement from strangers who feel like old comrades, as if the universe has deployed emissaries to confirm their path. In the little-known account of Elisha and the floating axe head, the prophet calls out for a miracle, and the iron swims to the surface, a testament that God attends to the small as well as the large, 2 Kings 6 verse 6. Similarly, the divine alignment of their life is not a grand spectacle, but a series of unseen acts of grace, preparing them for the moment when they step into their full inheritance. Every closed door was a divine detour. Every silent season a spiritual calibration, and every quiet nudge a signpost, pointing them toward their appointed destiny. Now they stand at the threshold of self-realization, awash in the glow of awakening, yet still clinging to old security blankets. Knowing that these signs and confirmations are real is liberating, but also daunting. Embracing a new identity demands that they let go of comforting illusions. Many resist this change, fearing the unknown or doubting their worthiness. They worry. What if the calling proves too heavy, or what if they misinterpret the signs? But resistance only delays the fulfillment of their destiny. True alignment requires not merely noticing these confirmations, but responding in faith, acting on the smallest promptings, voicing their truth in arenas that once felt out of reach, and trusting that each leap will be met by an unseen hand. This is the sacred moment where they must shed the cocoon of past limitations and emerge fully as the carriers of a legacy older than time. Doubt may knock, but they must answer with conviction, stepping forward into the power of what they have been living to reveal. Having accepted their divine calling, they are now empowered to move with boldness and clarity. Fear falls away as they recognize it as the last vestige of an old story that no longer serves them. They learn to speak declarative words over their life and circumstances, shaping reality rather than reacting to it. They develop spiritual habits that sustain their newfound clarity. Daily reflection on the signs they've received, deliberate pauses to listen for fresh downloads, and joyful declarations of gratitude for every confirmation. They connect with trusted allies, kindred spirits who mirror their mission and magnify their faith. In practical terms, they take tangible steps, applying for that role that once seemed impossible, launching that project that their spirit whispered about, or sharing their insights on platforms they once deemed too intimidating. Each action becomes a testament to the power of living in alignment with one's divine blueprint, turning latent potential into manifest reality. As they step into this empowered place, they become more than individuals. They become catalysts for others to awaken. Their life becomes a living testimony to the truth that what was once hidden in spiritual DNA can be brought into the light. They inspire those around them to seek their own confirmations, to trust the stirrings within, and to recognize that divine timing is never absent. Their journey illustrates that the legacy of the 144,000 is not an abstract concept, but a present reality manifesting through everyday people willing to heed the call. And so, with their hearts ablaze and their eyes fixed on the horizon of possibility, they move forward, no longer in the shadows of doubt, but in the radiant clarity of purpose. Comment Destiny if you embrace your role in this unfolding story. And to every soul who's supported with a super thanks, thank you. You are keeping this light alive for others who haven't found it yet. If you feel called to help this mission reach more chosen ones, tap the super thanks button below. Your energy supports these messages and helps them travel further. Your voice matters, your belief matters, and your light is felt here. The cost of the calling. They have felt the sting of isolation more sharply than any exile, as if they were always one step ahead of those around them, yet a world apart in heart and spirit. Every triumph felt muted, because there was no one to share its echo, and every invitation to belong carried a subtle warning that they were different. Too intense, too questioning, too driven by some inner compass others could neither see nor follow. In the marketplace of ideas, their truths were too radical. In the halls of influence, their convictions too unsettling. They gazed at laughter and conversation as if through a glass wall, yearning to join, but knowing they could never fully blend in. This loneliness weighed heavy, a silent companion whispering that perhaps they were meant to walk this path alone. Yet beneath that whispered doubt lay a flicker of something fiercer, a recognition that this very loneliness was the crucible in which their calling was forged, and in its fire they would find the courage to stand unshakable in solitude. Alongside isolation came the relentless burden of invisible responsibilities. They carried the sorrows of those they had never met, sensed the unspoken pain in rooms they entered, and bore the unvoiced prayers of souls searching for hope. Their hearts felt like vast vessels designed to hold the weight of collective suffering, an empathic gift that could easily become a curse. They woke at midnight with urgent thoughts for people they barely knew, felt compelled to send a timely word or reach out to someone on the brink of despair. Each act of compassion came at a cost: depleted energy, frayed nerves, and a sense that they were running on a reserve that might one day fail. Yet it was this very empathy that marked them as carriers of divine purpose, channels through which healing and justice could flow. Their sacrifice was not in vain. For every drop of compassion they poured into the world sowed seeds of restoration that would one day bloom in gardens they would never see. And then there were the nights of doubt, when the whispers of failure crept in and threatened to extinguish their flame. They lay awake agonizing over whether they were deluded, whether their dreams were mere fantasies birthed by overactive minds. They measured their impact against the applause they never received and found the scale tilted glaringly in the negative. They revisited past missteps, replaying conversations that went wrong, decisions that led to closed doors, and moments when they failed to act because fear held them captive. These wounds carved caverns in their confidence that seemed impossible to fill. Yet within those caverns also echoed a truth most profound: that failure and regret were not signs of unworthiness, but pathways to deeper humility and wisdom. In the shadows of their doubts, they discovered the bedrock of authenticity, where true strength is born not in the absence of failure, but in the courage to rise from its ashes. The prophet Jeremiah, in a verse often overshadowed by more triumphant passages, cried out that his word was in my heart like a burning fire shut up in my bones. Jeremiah 20 verse 9. That fire was both blessing and burden, an unquenchable flame that illuminated their path, yet seared at every hesitation. They understood that once the divine ignition took hold, there was no turning back. The calling demanded everything: their time, their comfort, and often their very sense of self. They sacrificed relationships that could not withstand the intensity of their mission, relinquished dreams of ordinary lives in favor of extraordinary purpose, and accepted that their destiny might never include the predictable joys that fill countless others. This was the cost of the calling, a price paid not in coin, but in the currency of undivided devotion. Yet within that burning cost lay the hidden alchemy of transformation. As they endured seasons that seemed designed only to consume them, they were being refined into vessels of uncommon resilience. Their hearts, once brittle, grew unbreakable. Their convictions, once wavering, solidified into bedrock trust. The very struggles that threatened to undo them became the means by which they tapped into reservoirs of divine strength they never knew existed. Like gold purified in the crucible, they emerged from trials not diminished but exalted, each scar a testament to wounds turned into warfare, each sorrow a source of empathy that would fuel their greatest ministry. Their pain became the precursor to purpose, a necessary path to the power they were destined to wield on behalf of those still trapped in the shadows. At this juncture, many would falter, unsure whether they have the courage to pay such a steep price. They might look back on the road traveled and long for a detour, a path less daunting, less lonely, less costly. But for those who understand that the cost of the calling is inseparable from its reward, hesitation gives way to resolve. They recognize that without the cost, there can be no currency of authority. Their trauma, loss, and sacrifice are not liabilities, but deposits in a spiritual bank that will one day yield fruit in lives restored, communities transformed, and generations renewed. And so they step forward, not with regret, but with gratitude, grateful for the refining, grateful for the revelation, and grateful for the destiny that stands ready to be claimed. Comment refined if you embrace the cost of your calling and see in your trials the making of your most powerful self. The chosen's awakening of ancient memory and power. They have felt the stirrings of power long before they could articulate what was happening, as if a memory buried deep in their bones awakened at the whisper of destiny. Perhaps it was the overwhelming empathy that welled up when a stranger wept, or the inexplicable conviction to speak a single word that brought comfort to someone on the brink of despair. They have sensed presences and glimpses of futures in sleep, puzzles solved in moments of meditation, and a clarity of purpose that eclipsed every rational doubt. This is not a new phenomenon, but the reemergence of ancient authority encoded in their spiritual DNA. You are the modern-day successors to the men of Issachar, who understood the times and knew what Israel should do. 1 Chronicles 12, verse 32. Carrying discernment as a birthright. Feel seen. You are not alone in this. You are among a remnant whose gifts are stirring, whose power is converging, and whose time has come. Prepare yourself, for the fullness of this awakening will demand every ounce of the authority you have always carried. Yet, with this reawakening comes the weight of history and the scars of those who walked a similar path before you. You have wrestled with the fear that these gifts might be illusions born of wishful thinking, only to have your faith confirmed by a sudden download of insight that jars the world around you into sharp relief. You have wrestled with imposter syndrome as you stepped into roles you felt unqualified to hold, and you have felt the loneliness of carrying secrets no one around you seemed able to understand. Your nights were haunted by questions like, why me? And what if I fail? You have endured the mockery of skeptics, the dismissal of peers, and the isolation of being too spiritual for those who crave certainty. Yet every trial served to sharpen your gifts, like a blade tested in the fire, preparing you to wield authority with compassion and unwavering clarity. They are not here by chance. They are the final descendants, the last flamekeepers. Subscribe if you haven't yet, like this video, and comment, I am chosen to let this message anchor in your soul. Share it with someone who needs to hear this. For full prophetic revelations daily, join the membership via the link in the description. Your spiritual path deserves more than fragments. Step into the full light. And if this message moved you deeply, consider tapping the Super Thanks button to support the mission. Every super thanks fuels the light we're spreading together. Remember, the legacy lives in you. Claim it now.